Hi everyone, my name is Kate. Welcome back to my wondernetting channel, and today I want to start back to school themed tutorials on my channel. Actually, I don't know this is the first tutorial of back to school themed or maybe the second one, because before I started making this tutorial I crocheted another cardigan. I ran out of yarn and right now I'm waiting for the new skeins so I can finish that cardigan. I don't know, I'll post this tutorial first or that tutorial first. Okay, never mind. So today I will show you how to knit the cardigan. I don't have a lot of knit tutorials on my channel, but I know you like them and you always ask me to make more knit tutorials. So yes, today I want to knit cardigan with you. Don't be afraid about knitting, it's not so hard that you may think. Today I'm gonna use beautiful hand-dyed yarn from Arcane Fiberworks called Heart of the Rockies. It's 100% merino wool in 100 grams, 166 meters. Today's cardigan will be cropped, oversized cardigan, but you can make it the usual length as a usual cardigan, not cropped. I didn't want to spend a lot of time to knit the cardigan, so I decided to make it cropped cardigan. This video is the first one you see in my back to school theme tutorials. Please check out other videos, but if not, thank you for watching. Okay, let's get started, and please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Let's get 100,000 subscribers until the end of this year. As it's now back to school time and back to university time, many people are studying hard or preparing for their studies. Although I have graduated my university, but I don't stop studying. For example, English isn't my native language, so I study hard every day to increase my English vocabulary. By the way, tell me in the comments how you usually self-study. Maybe you have some tips how to learn, how to memorize all the information. I have some different ways how I usually self-study my English. For example, a lot of listening, writing, speaking, but it's not always enough to memorize that word that is always slips out of my head. To avoid these situations, I use NEURON Flash app. It's my true recommendation because I use this app every day, and as we have back to school themed video, I want to share with you this app too. This app helps me to memorize information better. I use this app specifically to learn my English words, but you can use it to learn some rules, terms, any language, whatever information you need to memorize. I want to clarify that this app for self-studying. For example, you're preparing for exam and you need to memorize some rule or term, or you're learning new language and you find a word that is new to you. You type this word or term, whatever information, into the app, add examples or description of the words. You can use ChatGPT for this, and add it to your library. That's it, and now you can practice it. The app has a special system that allows you to memorize all the information permanently. It's better to go to the app every day and practice your words, and the app will give you these words in a certain order every day. And with this system, all words, terms, rules, whatever information will stick in your head. My advice to use this app at least 1 month to learn all the information. I at one time write down a lot of words that I want to learn and then practice them. If you're preparing for exams or learning a new language, it's my true recommendation to use NEURON Flash app to self-study. As always, let's start with a sketch, and I decided to make a cardigan with ties in the middle to make a bow because I don't have the buttons. And it's trending right now, so it's win-win situation. Of course, it's better to make some sample before start knitting, but here it doesn't matter. We will need needles. I'm gonna use 8mm needles on line, but you can take the usual regular needles without a line, but online it will be more convenient. Also, 3 skeins of yarn in 100 grams, 166 meters, scissors and regular needle. To get started, I need to wind the yarn into a handy ball, but unfortunately I don't have a yarn winder, so I have to do everything by my hands. Yes, it will take some time, but I don't know which yarn winder is better to use, so maybe you have some recommendations. Please write me in the comments. I usually use yarn in balls and skeins, so I didn't even think about buying drawing yarn winder. Now I'll show you how to measure the end of the yarn to get the right number of loops. For example, for one front piece we need 36 loops. We wrap the yarn around the arm like this, and 1/2 turn is 10 loops. We need to wrap it like this 3.5 times. And when we'll cast on 80 loops on the back part, we'll need to count 8 such half turns. So this end we'll leave to cast on the loops. And right here we'll start casting on the loops. So here's the tip that we measured, and place the yarn in your hand like this. Put the needle on the tension between your fingers, then pull the needle under your thumb, then under your index finger like this, and again under your thumb like this. And tighten the loop. So you have 2 loops on the needle. Again, pull the needle under your thumb, then under your index finger, and again under the thumb. And tighten the loop. You have 3 loops. And again, repeat the same way. Under the thumb, under the index, under the thumb, and tighten the loop. Like this, you should cast on 36 loops on your needle. In fact, if you get the hang of it, you can do it very quickly. And don't be afraid that this number of loops seems too small. And this is the tip that's left. I have some rules when I'm knitting, and the first rule is the first loop is always taken off on the right needle. The loop has 2 walls, front and back, and we need to take off this loop by the front wall like this. A little bit tight in this loop. In this row, every loop we're gonna need by front wall. Right now we need to make 2 front stitches. Insert the needle by front wall like this, then grab the main thread and pull it through this loop and take it off on the right needle. The first stitch is done. The second the same way. Insert the needle by front wall, grab the yarn, pull it through loop and take it off on the right needle. Next stitches will be purl stitches. Put the main thread in front of the left needle like this. Insert the needle into the loop by front wall, but like from the middle like this. Grab the yarn and take the loop off on the right needle. Repeat the same way, the main thread in front of the needle. Insert the needle from the middle by front wall and take it off on the right needle. Don't be scary, the first row is always a little bit hard to make. Next 2 stitches are again front stitches. So place the main thread behind the left needle again, insert the needle by the front loop like this and take the loop off on the right needle. And repeat one more time, like this. Next 2 stitches are again purl stitches. Main thread in front of the left needle. Make 2 purl stitches, and in fact right now we are making a rubber band. We need to alternate 2 front stitches and 2 purl stitches until the end of this row. And right now I'll show you how to determine where is the front stitch and where is the purl stitch. So where we have those horizontal lines, it's the purl stitches, and where we have the V's, it's the front stitches. The next rule in my knitting is the last loop is always purl stitch in every row. So before the last loop I made 2 front stitches, and the last stitch is always purl stitch, like this. And this is our first row. Turn your work. And let's start the second row. And right now you can see more clearly where we have purl stitches and where we have front stitches. With horizontal lines it's purl stitches, and V's it's front stitches. And in this row and next rows we need to make purl stitches above purl stitches and front stitches above front stitches. So first loop always take off on the right needle. And right now you can see the horizontal lines, so we need to start with purl stitches. Main thread in front of the left needle, make 2 purl stitches, like this. And here you can see the V's, it's our front stitches. From this row we need to knit these loops by the back wall, like this, and it should be more convenient. Again, horizontal lines, and we need to make purl stitches by the front wall and 2 front stitches by the back wall. Repeat the same way until the end of the row, and the last loop is always purl stitch. So before the last loop I made 2 purl stitches, and the last loop is always purl stitch. And now turn your work. So there are our front stitches, our V's and purl stitches with horizontal lines, and repeat the same pattern. First loop is always take off on the right needle without knitting, and then make purl stitches above purl stitches, front stitches above front stitches. In this row we need to start with front stitches. But let's imagine if you lost the stitch, what should you do? At first you need to catch the loop from the previous row, this loop. Then pull the yarn into this loop from behind, like this. And again put it on your left needle. And this loop should lay the same way on your needles like on my needles right now. The back wall should be in the right place. And if you lost the purl stitch, you again need to catch up the loop from the previous row, and you need to pull the yarn into the loop at the front, like this. And put the yarn in the right position on the left needle, not like this. Not like this, it's the wrong position. It's like the front stitch. On the purl stitch, the front wall should look like this. And then keep knitting the same way. Right now we've made with you 3 rows, count them by V's, and knit as many rows as you want for the rubber bands. I will make 11 rows. And don't forget about the rules. The first stitch is always take off on the right needle without knitting, and the last stitch is always purl stitch. This way of starting the row and ending the row will give us edge loops, for which we will sew all pieces together. So this is my rubber band. I made 11 rows, and from now knitting will be much easier. So take off the first loop. This row we need to make with front stitches only. So insert the needle by front wall like this and make front stitch. Again by front wall and front stitch. Then as usual by back wall make front stitch. 1 and 2. Again by front wall. 1 and 2. Again back wall, 1, 2, front wall, and so on until the end of the row. And the last stitch will be, yes of course, purl stitch. Next row will be only with purl stitches. Take off the first loop, the main thread in front of the left needle, and make this row only with purl stitches. And like this we need to alternate row with front stitches and row with purl stitches. And again in each row the last stitch will be purl. In total I'm gonna make 21 rows before I start making decreases. Next row with front stitches, knit by back wall. Count the rows by V's after the last horizontal line. So if you're not total beginner in knitting, you will knit it very quickly. My favorite rows in knitting is front rows because you can make it more quickly, I think. So I made 21 rows and it's gonna be left front part of the cardigan. So the decreases we're gonna make at the end of each purl row. So start row 22 as usual with purl stitches until you have left 3 loops on your needle. 2 loops before the last one you need to knit together. Insert the needle by 2 front walls, like this. This is the decrease. And the last loop, as usual, purl stitch. In front rows, we don't make any decreases, only on purls rows. And we need to alternate the rows with decreases on the wrong side of your work and without decreases on the right side of your work until you will have 31 loops on your needles. So I made my decreases and I have 31 loops on my needles right now. After that, knit without decreases 10 more rows or as many rows as you want. I can take my eyes on how beautiful this yarn is. So I made 10 more rows, in total I have 40 rows, and let's close the knitting. So make the first front stitch like this, then insert the left needle into the first loop and pull it through the second loop on the right needle. So you have left one loop on the right needle. And repeat again, knit one more loop. Insert the left needle into the first loop and pull it through the second loop. Close the knitting the same way until the end of the row. Last loop I knit as always as a purl stitch. Leave a longer tip, we'll sew with it the pieces together and pull the tip through the last loop. So the left front piece is ready, start making the right front piece the same way. The height is 37, the width is 32, on the shoulders it's 25 and the rubber band 8 cm. For right front part we need to make decreases at the beginning of the row. So this part I made the same way as the left part. I made 11 rows for the rubber band and then 21 rows as usual, alternating front and purl rows. And decreases on this part we're gonna make at the beginning of the row, so just take off the first loop and with the next 2 loops make decrease, like this. And then knit as usual, so make decreases on the purl rows at the beginning of the row until you have left 31 loops on your needles. And this is my 2 front pieces. For the back part, cast on 80 loops and knit the same number of rows but without decreases, in total 40, and on 41 close the knitting. And this is how it looks like. So I need 2 front parts, 1 back part and also 1 sleeve. Right now I'll show you how to make a sleeve, and it will be with increases. Front parts we made with decreases, the sleeve will be with increases, and there it's much easier than with decreases, I think. So right now I'll show you how to make a sleeve, and all we have to do is to make the ties here and sew it all together. One front part is a little bit different in color than the others, but it doesn't bother me too much because it's hand-dyed yarn and the cardigan will look more unique and interesting. When you make something with hand-dyed yarn, you should be prepared for this, that some pieces of your project will be a little bit different in colors. And it turned out that this part is lighter than this one, but it doesn't bother me. This is how the sleeve looks like. Don't be confused about its length because it's an oversized cardigan, and when we'll sew the front parts and back part, the sleeve will start right over here. So it should be not too long. For example, usually for usual cardigan I make sleeve like 52 centimeters long, but this one is 40 centimeters long. Let me show you how to make a sleeve and let's sew it all together. The back part looks so big, but it's okay, it's oversized cardigan. And here's my 2 front parts and 1 sleeve. For sleeve you need to cast on 28 loops, then knit the rubber band the same way as on the front parts and back parts 11 rows, and then knit 6 more rows. Increases we're gonna make on the front rows at the beginning of the row and at the end. So take off the first loop and then make increase like this. With your right needle, grab the main yarn like this, making the loop, and tighten it. Let me show you again more closely. Grab the main thread, making the loop, and tighten it. So we just added new loop and it's our increase. Then knit as usual until you have left 1 loop on your left needle. And before the last loop, make increase the same way. Grab the main thread making a loop and tighten it. And the last loop is purl stitch. The wrong sides row, knit without any changes. Keep knitting the same way, alternating rows with increases, it's our front rows, and rows without increases, and knitting like that until 17th row. And row 17 will be the last with increase. I'll show you again how we make increases, then I write you in which rows we need to make increases and how many rows we need to knit. After row 17, knit without increases. At row 37, again start making increases the same way and knit with increases, alternating rows with them and without them until you will have 50 loops on your needles. In total you should knit 46 rows, and on row 47 close the knitting. All my pieces are done, 2 front parts, 1 back part and 2 sleeves, and let's join them together. I'm gonna join them with crochet hook, but you can use just regular needle. So put 1 front part and back part face to face and insert the crochet hook or needle into the very first stitches right here. Pull out the loop, then insert the hook into the next stitches and make a slip stitch. Grab the yarn, pull it out and crochet first loop into the second loop and crochet with slip stitches until the end of the shoulder. At the end make chain 1, cut the yarn and hide the ends into the seam. This is how it looks like on the right side. Sleeve I'm gonna join with slip stitches 2, count 25 loops down from the seam. On the sleeve insert the hook into the very first loop, on the body insert the hook into the very big edge loop. Grab the yarn and pull out the loop. Insert the hook into the next loop on the sleeve, and you need to insert the hook right into this connection between loops and make a slip stitch. Then insert the hook into the next loop on the sleeve and next big loop on the body, next loop and into the connection, next loop and next big loop, next loop and next connection. So join like this until the end of the sleeve. On the sides of the cardigan, insert the hook into the big loops, like this. And the same way, crochet with slip stitches. And try to pull out the loops a little bit more, so your seam won't be too tight. On the sleeve, crochet the same way as on the shoulders, into the big loop and into the connection. So today is a new day and I've been knitting this cardigan for 3 days. And also I made a ties to make a bow. You just need to cast on 5 loops on your needles and knit 1 row with front stitches, 1 row with purl stitches, the same way as we knitted the cardigan. And you need as many rows as you want to the desired lengths. And right now with regular needle we need to sew the ties to the cardigan. And also you need to hide all the ends with regular needle to the seam. And this is how the seam looks like on the right side of the cardigan. To sew the ties, find that place where we started making decreases, and there sew the tie. To hide the ends, make a few knots around the loops and then hide it through the stitches. And this is the cardigan that we made with you today. I think if you will knit this cardigan in white color and make a bow in black color, it will be even more trending. But I like it in color with blue jeans and white t-shirt, it's perfect. Also I like that it's cropped so you can wear it in summer and in autumn. I think this cardigan is perfect for back to school, back to university outfits. Maybe with baggy jeans or pleated skirt it will be so good. I think it's gorgeous. As you can see, there is nothing complicated here in knitting this cardigan. I think with blue jeans will be nice. You can make this cardigan longer and then it will be like usual oversized cardigan. This crop top cardigan fits size, I think, S, M, L and even XL. So you don't need to adjust it to your size, you can just use my notes. And I really like that this cardigan with bow over here with ties, because if you don't have buttons, I don't have buttons, you can make the cardigan with ties. I hope you like this tutorial. I know that knit tutorials are super rare on my channel, but when I make them, I try to do it in the best way. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and please leave a comment which knit tutorial you want to see next on my channel. And I thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next video. Bye kiddos. I like this cardigan. You know what? It's my first knit cardigan ever. Before this cardigan I need some vests, tops, sweaters, but the cardigan never.